In this video, we are going to cover Chapter 3 called Extrude Options. The learning objectives for this chapter are to learn how to sketch on planes or planar surfaces, use different sketch tools to construct geometries, add geometric relations, otherwise known as constraints. We'll learn how to add and modify dimensions to a 2D sketch, and we'll explore the different extrude options and learn what extrude is. Before we get started in SOLIDWORKS, we are going to cover what SOLIDWORKS is. So overall, SOLIDWORKS is a 3D solid modeling software which allows us to develop full solid models in a simulated environment for both design and analysis. And in this course, we are going to focus on the design side of SOLIDWORKS. SOLIDWORKS is used by many different users, such as students, designers, engineers, and other professionals in order to create simple and complex parts, assemblies, and drawings. And in this course, we are actually going to learn how to create parts, assemblies, and drawings, all three things that SOLIDWORKS has to offer. Prior to CAD software, the design phase was the most costly and time-consuming part of a product's life cycle. And so SOLIDWORKS allows users to save time, effort, and money that would actually otherwise be spent prototyping the design. And then on your own, you can go in and watch this YouTube video of this company called Definiture. They make a Dutch Special Forces ATTV, and they created it using SOLIDWORKS. So it actually goes over the simulation phase as well, which we're not going to cover in this class, but you can see the power of SOLIDWORKS in this example. In this image, you can see how SOLIDWORKS is used everywhere. So in this house, you see that this company in Sweden made these clippers, this tool here. We have this perfume that was made in France using SOLIDWORKS. Then you can make something like a shower, a telephone, a computer, a lock, and all of these different consumer products can be used using SOLIDWORKS. Can be created using SOLIDWORKS. So SOLIDWORKS has three different components. The first component, also the most basic component of SOLIDWORKS, is a part. And we are going to start this semester off learning how to create parts. Parts consist of primitive geometry and features such as extrudes, revolves, lofts, and sweeps. So first you make your primitive geometry, which is your 2D sketch, and then you add a feature which makes it 3D. And the feature we're going to learn is the extrude here. Or learn in this chapter is extrude. We'll learn all of these throughout this semester. Parts are the building blocks for all models that we will create. The second component of SOLIDWORKS is assembly. Assemblies are a collection of parts which are assembled together using mates, or you can think of them as constraints. So basically, once we create all of these parts, we can add movement to them using these mates here. And any complex model will consist of one or many assemblies. So when you're actually adding parts to assemblies, you can actually add sub-assemblies as well. So your final, product could have a collection of a lot of different sub-assemblies. And then we have our drawing, which is the third component in SOLIDWORKS. And a drawing is a way to represent a 3D model. And so the standard way that engineers or manufacturers share designs is through drawings, and you can actually export them to PDF and send them that way. For example, if you were to get a product, a piece of furniture from IKEA, and you have the steps to assemble that product in there, a lot of times IKEA user's manual isn't the best, but you can actually create those drawings, those assembly drawings, using this component of SOLIDWORKS here. So now we are going to go into an exercise, and in the exercise we'll talk about the interface. I also added a video that you can watch in Module 2 that goes over the interface, or SOLIDWORKS interface as well. And for now, we are going to learn about one type of feature, which is the extruded boss/base. So you might be asking, what exactly is extruded boss/base? So essentially, we use the extrude to make a 2D sketch 3D. So in this example, we could draw, in 2D, this 100 diameter of 100 circle in 2D, okay? And then we'll use the extrude feature to actually make this cylinder. So we would extrude by 75, extrude this circle by 75 to create this cylinder here. And it's important to note that you can also use extrude to make cuts as well. So we created a solid here, but you can also extrude to make a cut. So I could draw a 2D sketch of a circle on this face right here, and then use extrude through all to create this cut through this entire object here. And then the last thing I want to note before we get started into the exercise is that there are a lot of different ways to make 3D models, or to make the same 3D model. So just because you do, or just because somebody else does it one way, it doesn't mean that your way is the wrong way. It could absolutely be the right way, and there's just multiple ways to get to the same drawing or part. So for example here, you could create this rectangle right here, this square, okay? And then our 2D sketch of a square, and then you use extrude to create this 3D shape. Or I could create this rectangle shape on top here in 2D, and then use extrude down to actually create this 3D shape. So now let's get started in SOLIDWORKS. The first thing we're going to do is actually open SOLIDWORKS. Okay, let me move this over here. All right, so when you open SOLIDWORKS, you should see something like this, okay? And if you don't see this window pop up, you can just click this home icon up here. So click that and this will pop up. And you can see here are the 3 components that we talked about, part, assembly, and drawing. And we are going to start with part. So click on part. And then before we actually get started with the exercise, we're going to talk about the interface here. Okay, so in the PowerPoint or lecture we just had up, the first thing it has on there is the Feature Manager Design Tree, which is right here. This is our Feature Manager Design Tree. You can actually hover over this and it says Feature Manager Design Tree. So if you're asked that on a quiz, you know what this one is. And this tab is one of the most important tabs. We're going to be using it a lot. It will actually show a chronological list of all the different features that we create in our 3D model and in our part. And then right here, if you click this one, if you hover over Property Manager, this is our Property Manager, and this will allow us to adjust different properties of an entity. Usually we're never going to click on this tab. It will just automatically pop up when we are creating, a new feature. And then this tab right here is going to be our Configuration Manager, and it will allow us to create different configurations of a 3D model. We're not going to get into this until later in the semester, but for example, say that one configuration you actually want an exploded view of an assembly. So say you had or actually let's say for a part, a section view. So you wanted to cut a part in half and you wanted to save that configuration of the part cut in half, and you could do that using this configurations manager. We'll usually use this though once we actually created our part fully. And then also we have this area right here is our graphics pane, which will update in real time. This is where we're actually going to draw our model or our part. We have our status bar down here, which is really important because it will allow us to change our units in drafting standard. It will also tell us when our sketches are fully defined. We'll go over that some more later. Here's our heads up toolbar, and this allows us to maneuver different views of our part. We'll go over this some more too. This is our task pane over here. You can easily open parts here from your File Explorer on your computer. There's a design library, some resources, all of these different things you can play around with. So for example, if I click that, the task pane will open and you can kind of go through and see the different options that you have. And I'm going to click here and it will minimize again. And then here's our command manager, and this has different tabs depending on what we want to do. So if we want to make a sketch, we'll do it here. If we want to add a feature, click this tab and so forth. And then we have our menu bar, which is pretty standard. It has, actually your menu bar has all the tools that SolidWorks has to offer here. So you can find them all here. This right here, the command manager, has the most used tools, and you can actually add more, or you can add commands to it as well, but all the tools will be up here. All right, so let's get started. Okay, and I'm gonna put the right here. So we are going to create this part right here. The different tools we're gonna use are, inserting a sketch, adding geometric relations, extrude boss and base, trim entities, adding a line, dimensioning your sketches, adding a circle, and adding a fillet. Also, we can see that this dimensioning standard is ANSI, and the units are inches with 3 decimals. So we're going to set that up first. All right, so let's do that. Down here in our status bar, you're going to click the IPS and then click Edit Document Settings. We're going to click up here to Drafting Standard, very top one, and then change that to ANSI. Okay, and then we are going to go to Units and make sure that it's inches and the length is 0.123. I forgot to note, for drafting standard, ANSI is the American standard and ISO is really the global standard. The differences is just the way that your dimensions are added. So for example, ANSI, the dimensions are going to be horizontal, all the dimensions. In ISO standard, it's going to be aligned with the edge. Okay, sorry, let's go back to units. So you can see that because ANSI is the American standard, drafting standard, it's in inches, and according to the exercise, it wants us to use 0.123, 3 decimal places, and we're also going to go to dimensions and make sure that the primary precision is 0.123 as well. Once you've done that, we're going to click OK. Then we're going to go up to our heads up toolbar up here, okay? And we are going to change the scene for our graphics area. So if you click the arrow, or I'm going to click out of that. If you hover over this, you can see it says apply scene, so you know you're in the right area, and click the little arrow next to that. And by default, we have this 3-point faded scene, but they want to change it to plain white. So click plain white. And then in our heads up toolbar again, this eye icon allows us to hide or view different entities. So if you click the arrow next to it, you can hide different things in the exercise, we want to view the origin. So you're going to click on origins. If it's in this darker gray color, that means that it's visible, and you can see our origin appeared in our graphics area. If I unclick it, it's not there. So we're going to click it so that we can view it. So now we are going to start a new sketch. Okay, I'm going to click on the Feature Manager Design Tree. I'm going to click on the front plane here and hit Sketch. Okay. And then I am going to actually start creating my sketch. Our process is going to be to create the sketch first, then we're going to add our geometric relations, then add dimensions, and then we are going to create a 3D model using the extrude feature. All right, so we are going to first select line, and we are going to hover over the origin. Whenever you see the coincident relation, it's that yellow box to the lower right corner of my pencil. When you see that, you are going to click. And what that did is we just automatically added a coincident relation, which just means that the first point of this line is going to be coincident with the origin there, okay? So it's going to be that endpoint of the line is going to be locked to that origin right there. And then you can see that another relation that's automatically being created is the horizontal relation. It's a horizontal line in that yellow box. Okay, so let's see here. We're just going to draw a line. And in parametric modeling, you're supposed to worry about shape then size. So right now, don't worry exactly about size. We are just going to draw this approximately. And you can also see how there's a vertical relation that's about to be added in that. To the right of the pencil is that yellow box with a vertical line. Okay, so I'm going to click. I do want it to be vertical. Okay, and just approximate right now. Nothing. Okay, and then if that dotted blue line isn't showing from the origin, you can come over here and hover over the origin, and then move your cursor up and click, and then click again. And then once you are done with this, I'm going to hit escape to exit drawing, and you can see that there's this purple color inside, meaning that this is a closed geometry. You need closed geometries in order to extrude. So make sure that yours is closed here. So now we're going to discuss the geometric relations again. Geometric relations are used at the sketch level to control the behavior of different sketch entities. So the sketch entity that we have here are a bunch of lines, right? And we're going to use these geometric relations in order to control the behavior of them. So we added these horizontal relations to these lines, meaning that they're going to remain horizontal once we add dimensions. And then we also added these vertical relations here, keeping these lines vertical if we were to modify this sketch any farther. Then I added some examples of some different relations that we can use. So coincident. In this example, we have two lines here, and the endpoint of this vertical line is coincident with this line here. Okay, so this endpoint is attached to this line. It's coincident with it. And if I were to move this line around, it would stay attached to this line. Midpoint, the endpoint of this vertical line, has a midpoint relation with this line. So this endpoint is at the center point, essentially, of this line here. We have equal relation, which just makes two different entities equal. These two circles are equal in size. Tangent relation makes this line tangent with this circle. And essentially that just means that this line will only intersect this circle at one spot. So it calculates it for you. That's just the definition of tangent. And then we have collinear. These two lines are collinear, which just brings them to the same level here. Okay, before this line might have been up here, but we added a collinear constraint, which brought them to the same level. Here's an example of tangent again. This line is tangent with this arc. Concentric means that these two circles share the same center. Okay, center point. We have vertical relation, which just means that these two lines right here that have the vertical relation, they are vertically aligned. Oh, in this one, they made the points vertically aligned, okay? Or you can use a vertical relation to actually make a line vertical as well, like we did in the exercise so far. And then we have the horizontal, which you could use to make a line horizontal, or you can make 2 points horizontally aligned as well. So now we are going to learn how to add and delete relations. So in the sketch tab here, you'll see right here is the display/delete relations. Click the down arrow and we are going to click add relations. Okay. So the first relation we're going to add is the equal relation. So we're going to click the top of these, okay? And say you accidentally clicked an extra line right here. So this line 2, let's see here, which line? Okay, line 2, yeah. I'm going to right click and just click delete, and it'll actually delete it from the selection. And then I'm going to go down to add relation and click equal. Okay, and so now all of these lines are equal in size. They all have the same size. And we're going to click check or okay, because we like that one. All right, and then we are going to add a collinear relation. So we'll do that again, down arrow, add relation, and then we are going to add a collinear relation with all of these horizontal lines, these 3, collinear, and you can see that it brings all of these to the same level there. Then we're going to click the green check mark. Now, let's check that. So if I were just to click and hold this line right here and move it up and down, you can see that all of the other lines will remain the same level no matter what place I put this line here. So you can see that the relations are working properly. Okay, and then, all right, those are the only relations we're going to add, and now we are going to add dimensions. So in order to add dimensions, we are going to click Smart Dimensions here. Just click it, and now we can add our dimensions. So let's click this vertical line here, and then click this vertical line, drag down and click, and then type in 0.5, enter. And that will make the distance between here and here 0.5. You can also see that the from here to here is also 0.5 as well. So let's just try that. Click that line to that line, and you can see it's 0.5. If I place it there, it will say a driven dimension, and I'm going to click cancel because you already added this geometric relation saying that these are all the same. So because I already said that these are all equal, by setting this one as 0.5, I don't need to go and dimension these to make them 0.5. Okay, so you don't want to add driven dimensions right now. Okay. So now we're going to add the rest of our horizontal dimensions. Click this line, then this line, and that is going to be 2, enter. Okay, this line, and that one is going to be 4, enter. And then this line, and that is going to be 6.5. Okay, and then I will add my vertical dimensions. So from here to here is 0.5, and all of these other lines moved with it. And then here to here is 1.5. This line to this line is 2.5. This line to this line is 3.5. And this line to this line is 4.5, enter. Excuse me. All right, oh, I'm gonna hit, so don't do this, but I'm going to click this one and delete it just so you can see something. So in our status bar, it says underdefined now, and you can see which lines are underdefined if they are blue. The lines that are fully defined are in black. And so if you don't know why it's underdefined, I can just click and hold this, and move this line up and down. And because I can move it up and down means that I have no height constraint on this. Okay, so I need to add a dimension that from here to here that doesn't allow this one to move up and down anymore. So I'm going to add that dimension again. Or you can see also it's underdefined down here, okay? So I'll add that dimension. Five, and now you can see that this line is black, and in our status bar it's fully defined. We want to get in the habit of fully defining our sketches. This is really important because when you get into complex parts and assemblies, you want to make sure that when you're making modifications, it doesn't mess up your entire part. And so fully defining sketches are very, very important. Oh, and then also if there's something that's red, that means that it is over-defined. You have too many dimensions or too many relations on there. So now we are going to hide our sketch relations here. Okay, and to do that, we're going to use our heads up toolbar, click this little down arrow, and then click, let's see here, this icon. If you hover over, it says view sketch relations. So if you click that to hide it, you can see that the relations are no longer visible. Now we're going to click our features tab, and we're going to click extruded boss / base. We are going to use the blind extrude option. And for blind, all we have to do is tell it what direction and what depth that we want to extrude this 2D sketch. Those are the two things that we need. So we're gonna, here's the different extrude options that we can use for this sketch. We're gonna click blind. If we click the arrow next to blind, that just reverses the direction. So I'll show you again on this one. Here is the depth. We want this to be 6 inches. So you can hit 6 and click outside of the box, or you can hit 6, go to units, hover over units and hit inches, either way. And I'm going to zoom out. Let me uncheck the blind again. So you can see the extrude goes this way, but I want it to go the other way. We want to reverse the direction. Okay. And if you're using mouse, just to note, I'm zooming in and out with the wheel. I would highly recommend using a mouse for this class or any CAD software. It's really hard to use CAD software without a mouse, so I would highly recommend it. So moving my wheel up is zooming out, moving it down is zooming in to the area I'm scrolling down. So if I want to zoom into this, I'm going to hover over the part. Okay. If I click the wheel and move, this will actually rotate my part around. Okay. All right. And then say I want to move or pan. So I'm going to hold Control on my keyboard and then hold down the wheel on my mouse and just pan left and right. So you have to hold down Control. If I don't hold down Control, it will be rotate instead of pan. All right. Then we're going to click check. We're done with that extrude. Now we are going to add a sketch on a planar face, which is, so instead of, SolidWorks has 3 planes, front plane, top plane, and right plane. And these 3 planes are, they are 90 degrees. They're perpendicular to one another. Okay. So let's see here, instead of drawing on one of the planes, we are going to start a sketch on this planar surface. So just click this planar surface here and then hit the sketch icon. Okay, so make sure to click sketch, not edit sketch. So click sketch. By default, it will go to normal view, which aligns your eye perpendicular to this sketch surface. On my keyboard, if I click Control 7, it will bring the isometric view of the part. If I hit Control 8, it will bring it to normal view. You can also control this in the heads up toolbar up here for view orientation. So click the arrow and then you can do, right now it's this right view, you could do a front view here. You can do this isometric view. But again, I'm going to do Control 8 to bring it to normal view. Okay, then I'm going to draw a circle. So just click circle in the sketch tab, draw anywhere. Okay, and then we're going to add dimensions. So go to Smart Dimensions, the diameter. So just click on the edge of the circle. The diameter is going to be 2, enter. And then you're going to click this left edge, then click on the circle, the edge of the circle, and that's going to be 3, enter. And then from this top edge to the center, or you just click on the edge of the circle, is going to be 2.25, enter. Okay, and then check mark to exit out of that. Then I'm going to hit Control 7 to bring this in isometric view. Now we're going to add 2 lines to this one. So actually I'm going to do Control 8 to bring it back to normal again. I'm going to draw a line. This first line is going to be start. It's going to be coincident with the left quadrant of this circle. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see. There should be a orange or a diamond where the quadrant is. So click the left quadrant of the circle and draw a line down. Okay, and then hover over this right side where there's a dotted blue line. You want to make sure that one's aligned with the right quadrant. So click, and then you can click up here. And I'm going to hit escape to end the line command. Again, you can see that our sketch is underdefined here. And so the blue line is underdefined. So I'm going to move the blue line. Okay, so I'm moving it up and down. And So basically I have to add a constraint where it doesn't move up and down anymore like that. So what I'm going to do in the instructions, it says we're going to add we want this to be aligned with this right here, this edge. So I'm going to click the down arrow, add relation. I'm going to click the blue line and I'm going to click the edge there, and I'm going to add a collinear constraint to bring this line of the sketch aligned with this edge here, and then click check mark. All right, and then we are going to use the trim command, which allows us to trim this edge here so that this sketch is one closed profile. So up here, click trim entities, then make sure trim to closest is selected, and you are going to just click on the bottom edge of the circle, and now you can see that this 2D sketch is one closed profile. We're going to click check there. Now we are going to do our extrude. So we're going to go to the features tab, extruded boss/base. For our type, we can do, there's actually a lot of different types of extrudes we can use here. The first being blind. So we could say that we want it to be blind with 6 inches so that it actually goes to the end here. Okay. You can also use through all, or let me go to blind and change this, make this smaller so you can see how through all works. Okay, so I'm changing the depth of the blind extrude option. Now if I go to through all, it will bring this sketch, extrude it through all of these entities. Another one that we could use is up to surface. So if you click up to surface, then in this pink area where it automatically selects it for you, if this is selected, you can actually go down and just click this, okay? And then click here, click this surface, and it will extrude that sketch up to this surface here. Up to next extrude will just go up to the next surface or entity. Up to vertex, if I click that one, it will hover the pink, and I just click a vertex I want it to go up to. So if I click this edge here, it will go, the extrude will go up to there. We already did up to surface. And then those are the ones we are going to cover. Okay. All right. And then, oh, actually in the book they have the offset from surface as well. And so if we click there, it says offset by 4.4. It will actually go up to this surface and then subtract 4.4. So we'll offset from the surface and go up to that position. But in this example, we are going to select through all. And then we're going to click OK. And the last thing we're going to do in this example is add fillets. So there's one tool used to add fillets or rounds. I'm going to move the lecture over here. Okay. So let's see here. Here is a fillet right here, and here's a round. Okay. These are actually different. So when you need to add material, such as this top one, if this is a, if you need to add material like this fillet, say this is a squared off corner, and you see to make it rounded, you have to add material, and that's called a fillet. And then if you have to remove material, it's actually called a round. So this was also square here, and I removed material to make it round. Luckily in SolidWorks, you don't have to specify which is which, so it will automatically detect if you need a round or a fillet by using one fillet command. So let's add that. We are going to, in our feature tab, up here, click fillet. And then I am going to, it wants us to select all of them. I just want to show you in this area. So make sure this box is selected in blue. You can actually go in and add or click on the lines. That's one method, but that's obviously the long method. So I'm going to right click here and click clear selection. I'm just going to click and drag. So I create a selection window around my entire model. And then depending on your computer processor, will show you, or that will determine how long it will take to select everything. But okay, all of these are selected. You can see all of these edges are selected here. Oh, fillet type, we want constant size fillet. So this first option here, if you hover over, it will tell you the type. For example, this is variable size fillet. Then you scroll down and we want these selected. We want to make sure it says full preview. If I click no preview, it won't actually show you what the fillet looks like. So I want to do full preview so I can kind of see that it's doing it properly. And then for the radius, I want to do 0.125. Okay, then click out here and we'll add a 0.125 fillet. All right, now I am going to click OK. And I'm going to hit Control-7 on the keyboard to put an isometric view. And here is the Chapter 3 example. For saving this, I'm going to go up here and click Save. You can save it wherever you want on your computer. And so for the file name, the typical file name that you'll submit is you'll type in your username. My username is just J Bergman. Or you can do first name, initial, then last name. So J Bergman, and then underscore, and then the name of the assignment. So this one was called Extrude Options. So I'll call this Extrude Options. It's also important to note a lot of times in file names you don't want to add spaces in the name. Depending on what software you're using, it could add complexity for it to be able to read the spaces. So just to note. And then for file type, it's going to be a SolidWorks part, which is saved as .sldprt, and that is the file type you'll submit. So click Save. And this is saved. Oh, and the last thing I want to note is on your feature manager tree, this is, you can see the view. So we created 3 features. The first one was this Boss Extrude 1. Then we created, which is this first shape. Remember, we made this 2D sketch and then extruded it this way. Then our second feature was this feature here, which we made that 2D sketch on this planar surface and extruded it. And then the last one was adding the fillets there. If you made a mistake on a feature, you can just click on the feature and go to Edit Feature. And it will allow you to actually modify the feature. Okay, I'm going to hit X. And that is all.